Please go ahead. We are live now.
Independence, because all the power women with all the power, we are celebrating the true independence. And that's why ASSOCHAM is specially recognizing, acknowledging, and giving a huge support to promote not just those women, but women globally that are tied up. And today we have some of the finest women, not just in India, but globally, joining us. So, with that, we get started with ASSOCHAM's International Women's Day celebration, breaking the barriers, celebrating journey of women. I welcome Dr. Blossom Kocher, co-chair, ASSOCHAM Women Empowerment Council, and chairperson, Aroma Magic. Blossom Kocher ji. Blossom Kocher ji.
Okay, good. You're okay. I'm unmuted. Good morning, and a very warm welcome on behalf of the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India to all our distinguished guests who have gathered to celebrate International Women's Day today. Let me begin by saying that the new aspirational India has half of its population that is women, full of new aspirations. The norm defying success stories of grit behind all the women achievers in the fields dominated by men, such as research, technology, engineering, and medicine, have emboldened the new generation of women in this country, and also globally, who want to change the world. You all are the role models and inspirations behind them. However, though we have taken huge strides in terms of making our mark in the field of science and technology, defense forces, medicine, and engineering, there are quite a few miles left to cover before we can say we have arrived. Dr. Sapna Cherian from the University of Washington, Seattle, in her research paper titled, "Why Are Some STEM Fields More Gender Balanced Than Others?" says, and I quote, "While over 60% of BS, MS, and PhD degrees in biological and chemical sciences are from women, only 25 to 30% of them do computer science, physics, and engineering." Why this imbalance? On which Dr. Cherian suggests three social psychological reasons. First, masculine culture. Second, lack of sufficient early exposure to computers, physics, and related areas compared to boys in early childhood. And third, the gender gap in self-efficiency. That means there still remains some doubt in women's mind as to whether I am really fit for certain soft fields only jobs, such as in social science and life sciences, and not for the tough jobs. Closer at home, a book by the author, Dr. Namrata Gupta, titled "Women in Science and Technology, Confronting Inequalities," published in 2019, points out that women form only 10 to 15% of STEM research and faculty members in the IITs, CSIR, AIMMS, and PGIs. In private R&D labs, there are very few women scientists. To drive my point home, I would like to tell some figures. The science academies have hardly 10% women. The Bhatnagar Prize has gone to 18 women out of a total of 548. And the Infosys Prize to 16 out of a total of 52. On the occasion, I would like to reveal some more interesting points about the other end of the spectrum, that is the overall women labor force. Women participation in the formal labor force has been very low at 21.8% in 2018 and 19 against the global average of 40% according to the latest World Bank data. Affected by limited education and employment opportunities, wage discrimination, and social stigmas, Indian women are still far behind in their contribution to GDP, at an estimated 17%, realizing the potential and the need to address the low labor force participation rate in the country. The central government has come out with several policy changes. The government has introduced an Aadhaar-based secure digital identification access to banking and financial services, online and or offline. Besides 8 million self-help groups, a mechanism that manages and lends accumulated savings of their members are being used to channel government services aimed at women, thus helping them to graduate to small and medium-sized businesses and fuel economic growth. The government has taken various positive steps, like offering to subsidize or free higher education, passing the Equal Remuneration Act and Maternity Benefit Act, allowing longer childcare leave, pushing for gender-friendly workplaces, and stringent laws against sexual harassment. With India aiming to become a $5 trillion economy by 2025, then it cannot afford to ignore half of its talent pool comprising women. We also comprise India's half of the consumer base, so companies would want to know what we want and respond accordingly. Thirdly, diversity in the employee mix will also lead to a comprehensive decision-making process. India stands to gain an additional $2.9 trillion of annual GDP by achieving gender parity in the workplace by 2025, which is a vast 60% higher than business as usual GDP in 2025. We have to realize that when you empower a woman in a family, you also help her to contribute to the GDP of the country as she gets to provide for her family. The intention to state all of this is that we all need to make efforts to try and push these boundaries for the coming generation. We, us, should be the change makers by sharing our stories of endurance and success with the young women of the country and be the major contributor in the new aspirational India. Thank you.
It's interesting to hear how only 17% of the 50 million, 50% of 1.3 billion population is still yet to reach that target. But I'm sure under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and ASSOCHAM taking such a strong stand to enable women empowerment, we will reach that goal. And the knowledge and the able guidance of people like you will definitely empower women. With that, I think we are ready for a fantastic video presentation by Ms. Jindal. We look forward to seeing that. Hello, everyone. Very happy to have. Thank you so much for having me. Opportunity to talk about my. I, as far as I remember, I wanted to, and in my time. Wow. Smino Jindal, a true woman of grit and steel. And it really teaches you the importance and value of what we have in life and true leadership that we see. And now we move on to another woman of, I would say, great endurance, strength, and another empowered person, Miss Lakshmi Puri, former Assistant Secretary General, United Nations, and former Deputy Executive Director, UN Women.
Thank you.
We look forward to a special address by you, Ms. Puri.
Thank you, Sanjana. Greetings to all the distinguished women of achievement and participants, including, of course, the co-chairs of ASSOCHAM Women's Forum, Dr. Blossom Kocher and Upasana Arora, and the he for she men or man who are joining us in solidarity. And of course, I was very inspired by the presentation that we just heard of Smino Jindal. And that's the way to go. It gives me great pleasure to join ASSOCHAM's celebration of International Women's Day. And I cherish my past association with ASSOCHAM in different avatars, as when I was Joint Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, dealing with economic relations, then as Deputy Secretary General in UNCTAD, UN Conference on Trade and Development, and then as Deputy Executive Director, UN Women. So it's wonderful to reconnect. I speak today on full and equal access to, participation and leadership of women and girls in the field of STEM and Tech Economy 4.0 in India. Now, this past year, due to the calamitous COVID-19 pandemic, we have experienced what I call the mother of all disruptions, economic and social, and the mother of all accelerations in technology 4.0, including digitization and artificial intelligence and automation. We, that is government, private sector, and civil society, and educational institutions, therefore have to make, again, what I call the mother of all efforts on this International Women's Day to ignite that, to ignite the capabilities of girls and women in STEM and help achieve equality and empowerment in this vital field for sustainable development for all without further delay. COVID-19 has brought into greater focus and even exacerbated the gender gap, sending a message that we can only miss at our peril. The pre-existing gaping gender digital divide meant that millions of girls in India could not access education during this period, for example, or work from home. Further, their lack of digital fluency deprived them of access to nutrition, income, health, and other essential services, as well as to work and in entrepreneurship opportunities. It also showed that those women and girls who had digital access and could master Tech 4.0 related STEM disciplines overcame challenges and reaped rich educational, employment, and entrepreneurship dividends, and work from home possibilities could be exploited. Now, gender gaps remain wide and persistent, and Blossom referred to some of them in science, technology, engineering, and math fields at the graduate, postgraduate, and doctorate levels. For example, only 18, 8, and 2% are women in a 14-country study, which includes India, as well as professional scientists, engineers, and mathematicians, and STEM teachers, researchers, and inventors in both developed and developing countries. India has the distinction, but in spite of this, of being #1 in the world in STEM graduates. But India is only 19th in the world in employing them. So there's something happening in between. Women account for only 10 to 15%, as was mentioned, in IITs, CSIR, and other government and private institutions, R&D institutions. So typically, it's a reflection of three major gender gaps. The education gap, especially secondary and tertiary education, the training and skills development gap that still persists in most countries, as well as the decent work and productive employment gap. But going beyond these three, and again, this was referred to by Blossom, is the myth and gender stereotype of STEM field as a masculine one, requiring intellectual ability, stamina, creativity, hard work, and tenacity, attributes that women and girls are falsely, and I want to emphasize, falsely seen as not to inherently possess or are capable of acquiring. Then there is the usual issue of women in STEM careers either being deterred by or dropping out on the way, the leaking pipeline phenomenon, due to care responsibilities they have to disproportionately bear and combine with punishing schedules and demands of STEM careers in a non-nurturing patriarchal environment. Another issue is the vicious cycle of there not being enough women in STEM as role models to inspire and embolden others to join. And I'm happy that India has some of them, but not enough. Finish education and training and rise in STEM careers and be visible leaders and award winners, not just hidden figures. As is often said, the problem is not enough women in STEM, is that there are not enough women in STEM. So we have to have that critical mass. So what do we need to do to create and foster an ecosystem that nourishes the interest, talent, and intellectual capital of girls and women in STEM education, training, and careers, is to address these structural barriers and gaps. So I'm proposing 5 purposive steps or punch paudis to climb up to a planet 50-50 of STEM, which all chambers of commerce in India, and I heard Blossomji saying that ASSOCHAM will take it upon itself also, should contribute to, along with linking up with relevant Prime Minister Modi related Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Atmanirbhar Bharat verticals, missions, and programs, including Skill India, Digital India, Startup India, New Education Policy, iSTEM portal, and National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence, and also ICT and other initiatives. So the first paudi is step it up in data, knowledge, advocacy, and movement building. And movement building, abhiyan, to demolish the myth of female incapacity and inferiority in STEM, to build and sustain girls' and women's interest in and confidence about their inner spark from childhood onwards, to take on the challenge of STEM education and careers. Inculcate a STEM culture from homes, schools, universities, labs, and tech ventures. Make it cool and second nature for them to embrace as a hobby, as a passion, as an academic pursuit, as a profession, as a profitable enterprise. Give awards to energize the female STEM high priests and their congregations, their flocks. The second paudi is to step it up to educate and organize access to STEM infrastructure and aids and encouragement for girls and women to go for STEM education stream through special measures, incentives, and scholarships, etc. Both women and men STEM leaders must mentor. That's the other aspect. Mentorship is very important in all stages on their path to STEM empowerment. The third paudi is to step it up in training and developing skills in incubators, research and data labs, and rebooting through the life and career cycles, and enabling the demolishing of what I call the glass walls and glass ceilings within and across STEM disciplines. The preponderance of women in biochemistry and science is only 30%, in computer physics and engineering is a case in point about glass walls. This requires significant and targeted investments to recruit, retain, and promote STEM women while generating a critical mass and its own snowballing effect towards parity democracy in STEM. The fourth Pauri is to step it up to form and foster STEM women's professional organizations and bodies and generate a positive momentum in other Pauris through a feed-in and feedback loop. Tech 4.0 is rapidly changing the world of work, and these organizations must ensure women's full participation and leadership in this labor market, this transformed labor market, and in the creation and securing of new collar jobs that are now coming up. The punch or the fifth body is to step it up to transform the patriarchal spaces and culture of work of STEM institutions and businesses and make them more gender responsive to be accommodative of women's participation and leadership, again, through special measures, flexible working hours, childcare, parental leave, shorter working hours, incentives, motivational leadership and management, working from home, etc. Now, both the International Day for Women in STEM, UNGA resolution, and the Sustainable Development Goals Compact. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which India led and committed to in 2015, recognize that women's STEM empowerment is not only an end in itself, it is a critical enabler and beneficiary of the three dimensions of sustainable development. As was pointed out by Blossom, economic growth could increase several times. 8 trillion in 144 countries with 600 million girls getting digital access. Social capital will grow manifold, and environmental sustainability through green production and consumption with their participation will multiply manifold. Equally, women and girls' STEM participation is key to filling the STEM human resource deficit that we as India face, as do many other countries, and helping our country to pole vault into a tech economy 4.0 future in fields ranging from ICT and 5G, digital work areas, payments, education, health, commerce, AI and automation, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, big data, biogenetics, supply chain 4.0, Internet of Things and cloud computing, nanotechnology, etc. The IWD theme this year is women's leadership and generation equality in a post-COVID future, and STEM India 50-50 leading to a planet 50-50 is a signature transformative area to both role model and drive larger gender equality, women's empowerment, and Sustainable Development Goal 5. And I call upon all of you to please raise your hands at the end of this to signify SDG 5, achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls, and to reach out to those most excluded in the spirit of Antoyodaya that we so cherish in this country. On this day, we need to pledge to live up to these commitments and translate them into results and impact at all levels, global, regional, national, and local, involving all stakeholders, educational institutions, private sector, government, scientific and professional bodies. And I know that you bring together all these different partners. ASSOCHAM members will make all efforts, I'm sure, to climb the punch pauris and take India speedily to a planet 50-50 in STEM destination. SDG 5, high five. Thank you.
Wow, that's definitely a high five to the Punch Pauris, Lakshmi Puri ji. It was so innovative, intriguing, and interesting. I learned so much from that, and more than education. the training skill development, which you have emphasized on. I'm sure everybody's taking notes, and with the kind of power women that ASSOCHAM has brought together today under the able leadership of course, our Honorable Prime Minister, people like you and ASSOCHAM, I definitely see women not just stepping, but I would say soaring in the STEM field. So thank you so much for that great, thoughtful talk from you. Thank you for that. And now we have our first panel session, Women Leaders in STEM, STEM. And here we have joining us Dr. Priya Abraham, Health Attaché and Regional Representative, U.S. Embassy, New Delhi, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Global Affairs, Office of the Secretary. We also have Ms. Neelama Dwivedi, Executive Director, Public Policy, Communications and Market Access, MSC Pharmaceuticals Private Limited. We have Ira Singhal, IAS, Joint Director, Department of Women and Child Development, and Joint Director, Department of Social Welfare, Delhi Government. Dr. Priya Abraham, Director, National Institute of Virology, NIV, Pune. Ms. Ruchira Jaitley, CMO India, HMV Global. Dr. Mrs. Meenakshi Munshi, Scientist, G Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Ms. Nidhi Arora, Founder and Catalyst, the Children's Post of India, and co-founder, Topkane Consulting Private Limited. Dr. Indu Bunsel Agarwal, Director and Senior Consultant, Radiation Oncology, Narayana Super Specialty Hospital. And Dr. Kanika Sharma, Clinical Lead and Senior Consultant, Radiation Oncology, Dharamshila Narayana Super Special Hospital. So with that, with an amazing panel here today, we start with Dr. Priya Abraham.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjana. So pleased to be here. What an incredible group of women you've gathered. And I very much looking forward to hearing from all of them. So I know that, one of the asks of me particularly was to go through a little bit of my personal journey as well and kind of see how that fits in. And certainly this topic of women in science is very, very much one dear to my heart, not because it affects just women in science, but because I think it actually affects science. Unless we are really leveraging all of the talent that we have that is just latent sitting there, I feel science as a whole suffers. So this isn't just a topic for women, this is a topic for all of us, and it is a topic for how do we get to the best science. So I'll start by saying that, my being here in my role, so my current role, just for those of you who are not aware, is I'm the ambassador's representative here in India for all of our health and biomedical issues. And part of that includes representing our entities that we have here in India, which include the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the National Institutes of Health. And all of this helps to shape our regional policy, which I then report back to our secretary in the US in terms of how we will move forward in some of these bilateral and multilateral policy engagements. So, when I see myself sitting here amongst this very, very stellar panel, sometimes it feels very unlikely because my path here was not linear. When I was a kid, I actually spent a fair amount of my childhood in Africa. And I remember, I would turn in my assignments and do what I needed to. My dad had been assigned there. But afterwards, me and my sister would run out and play in the bush. And that's what I remember most from my childhood. And I also remember that at a time when many other girls were told, don't get dark, don't spend too much time in the sun, watch out for the leopards, watch out for the snakes. We were out, from dawn to dusk, rolling around in the mud and, swimming in places where I subsequently learned there had been crocodiles. But that certainly did, it did instill a lack of the feeling of barriers. When I started in college, actually, I started as a drama and theater major. So didn't really see myself in science. And it's part of, what our previous speaker had said, is that somehow women and girls aren't necessarily told you will be leaders in science. Yeah, so you seem to be okay at chemistry, but, it's a really hard field. And there's a lot of feedback that you get consciously or unconsciously from around you. And so when I got to college and I had 2 or 3 professors who basically said, hey, listen, you are very talented in this. Like, why don't you consider science? And I, of course, had the fortune to be in an American liberal arts college, which allows you to make these very, very drastic shifts, from something that's so far from science to, genetics, which is what I ended up doing. But again, took a little bit of a turn. I thought I would be a wildlife geneticist, and during some time off, discovered the field of public health, came back, attended Hopkins, and sort of went into a career as a science researcher at the National Institutes of Health. Then the next step of my career, again, was quite unexpected, in that my father actually died very unexpectedly when I was still quite young. I took time off. My mentor at the time, my boss, basically said, take time off. We'll be here when you come back, which was incredibly generous. And it made me realize that all of these scientific questions that I was looking at, even though incredibly important, in some sense, needed to be translated to policy. And his own death was really due to access of medicine at the right time, which is one of the fields that I now work on in my policy capacity. So all that to say, it was a realization that when the time came that I did really want to be doing science policy as well as science. So this seems like kind of a roundabout way to get to where I am, but actually there are a number of binding themes, and they tie back into what our previous speaker had mentioned. Certainly, there is no one right way to do this. And I think this idea that there is a linear path where people go into science, in their 10th standard +2, and sort of carry on is one model for sure, and it can be a very successful model, but there are so many other ways to do this. And I think particularly for us as women, where you are balancing family and other responsibilities, and you have all this societal pressure, the ability to do this flexibility is very, very important. So when I look at my friends, my colleagues in women in science, those who have made it to leadership have done this in very different ways. Some went straight through and actually decided, we don't want a family, we don't have children, and this is the only way we can do it. And they've been very successful. Some said, we're going to do this part-time and step up when we can. And they've been very successful. And others basically dropped out of the workplace, came back, sometimes in very, very different fields from where they started. And they've also been very successful. So I think it's very, very important for us to message this out to young girls, to young women, that there are many ways to get to leadership in science. And just because you see what seems like a block for the near term, that doesn't mean that you can't get around this and, sometimes even turn it to an opportunity. The second point is that help comes from all corners. And you are not doing this alone, and you don't have to do this alone. And, of course, there are your bosses and your advisors and your mentors who are sort of where you traditionally expect to see the help. But having a colleague of peers who are going through the same thing is absolutely invaluable, where you can turn around and say, I know it's hard, but you're still swimming, and so can I, and exchanging tips on how to keep going with this. And quite honestly, that help is sometimes from very unexpected places, like my advisor's secretary, who was bouncing my baby son in her arms while I was doing my PhD dissertation. And so, you do find that there are so many people who are so willing to help you through your journey. And sometimes we forget that we can ask. And certainly, that's one thing to keep in mind. And then I would say something that's very, very important for women particularly, and I see this on the other side because I am on selection panels, both for universities, for many of our awards, is sometimes we take ourselves out of the race before it even starts by second guessing. Am I qualified enough? Maybe I shouldn't apply for this. This seems like a very high leadership position. Is it going to take too much time? Maybe I shouldn't apply for this. And we often see, even in the applications coming in, that someone we really expected to apply didn't. And that's always very disappointing because I think, there is this perception, perhaps, that this is going to be harder, more difficult, more time consuming, we're not qualified, when generally that's often not the case. And so, very much my advice to women at all stages of their career is apply. What is the worst that can happen? And in all likelihood, you're probably one of the best candidates for the job. And so maybe I'll just sort of end with a few key steps on how do we systematize this. And certainly I think many of these points have already been covered very eloquently, so I'm not going to go into them into great detail, other than to reiterate some of which we've heard very much in my position, looking at the science landscape, both in the US and here in India. And one is flexibility in work schedules. I think the reality is for women, there are so many different pathways to get to leadership in science. And schedules that allow for you to leave the workspace and come back in, re-entry grants, taking away age limits, because let's be frank, age limits work much more against women than they do against men, because women do tend to take a few years off if they decide to have a family or they have other responsibilities. But then the second, of course, is institutional training for men and for women in some of the implicit biases regarding, both women's ability in science, but also their ability in science leadership. And focusing on the fact that we do need to be training not only in science, which I think India does very well, but also in science leadership, and make sure that women specifically are getting some of this training. The third would be to create networks of women across, across all parts of their career, so that young women can get in touch with more experienced women. And there is this tide kind of pushing you to go a little further than you think you can, because you usually can. And finally, I'd say represent women in important decision-making bodies, whether that's at the institutional level or the national level, and make sure that they are advocating for all of these things in a broader way. And so I will say that we at the US Health and Human Services did put together a listening session of some of India's top women scientists a couple of years ago, and asked them, what have been the things that were difficult for you? What are the kinds of things that will help you move to leadership in science? And it was really quite impressive how targeted some of their recommendations were. And a lot of them are the ones that we've heard today that I've shared with you, that our previous speaker shared with you. And so I would end with an echo of, we have some good guidelines on what we need to do next, and let's work together on implementing them. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sanjana, you need to unmute yourself. Dr. Sanjana, you need to unmute yourself.
I think somebody is muting me. I think it's them. They don't want me to talk, but I am here and I am talking. Well, Dr. Preeta, totally in awe after listening to you and your journey from being Crocodile Dundee to theater to science and genetics. And now, of course, wow, representing, I think, the world of genetics. It's amazing. And there's only one way, just do it. And like you very rightly said, age limit and making sure that there is more flexibility for women will definitely help. I'm sure everybody is learning a lot, and we look forward to learning more from you. Thank you so much. And we move on to Miss Nilima Duavedi.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjana. First of all, happy Women's Day to everyone, to all our girls and the women's out over there, and all my fellow panelists over here. And it's really a great privilege for me to be really part of this august and elite panel where Dr. Kocher, Lakshmi Puri, and even Preeta, I think the way they spoke, they're so inspiring, and especially pushing boundaries, what Dr. Kocher was talking about. And those punch body, I think that was so inspiring. What a great approach. So, so I would rather start again, and I represent corporate sector over here, and I would like to basically talk a little bit about my journey and experiences over these years. I would start with my personal journey, basically. So I come from a very humble background. It's so my in fact journey is, you can say, a next door girl journey. The story of a village girl who somebody talked about access to education. So I represent rather that cohort of people, cohort of girls, I would say. So I come from a humble background, and I'm still deeply rooted and connected with my rural roots, though. And I was the eldest daughter of a big farmer, you can say Jamindar, with 3 younger brothers hailing from a remote village of Bihar. And I really take pride. People sometimes hesitate saying that they are Bihari, but I really take pride. Where there was no electricity in those days, and even the motorable roads came sometimes in late 90s. And the nearest secondary school was 8 miles away. We used to walk 6 to 8 miles to the closest small township for any small needs, and including catching a bus in those days to go to the nearest town. But however, my parents really dreamt big for me. They wanted me to become self-reliant and do well in my career. And I believe I did luck out, as my parents were more driven to focus on my success, a rarity given how unprivileged girls used to be compared to the boys with regards to education and employment in those days. So at the age of 3, I was sent to an English medium school in the nearby city, which was almost 100 kilometers away from my home, from my village. And hence I had to stay away from my parents at the age of 3. And then later on, I was sent to a boarding school at Ranchi. At some point of time, I had to also stay with relatives, which had its own ups and downs, right? But however, I completed my graduation with English honors degree. And after that, I also completed my post-graduations. And in between, I got married I got married at the age of 20 and in an arranged with a perfect horoscope matching kind of like, in that setup. I was just like, I had taken admission into my master's. My husband was a scientist. He was working in a government and in one of the leading national institute in Bangalore. Of course, there was a support from the family, I would say. And with that support, with lots of ups and downs, finally, I was able to complete my post-graduation with a little baby in my lap. But of course, Dr. Kocher talked about pushing boundaries. I think that was really a big boundary for me, which I was trying my best to push. And after that, yes, luckily I also got a job opportunity as an editor and that was a part-time opportunity for me. But it was really, I think it was blessing in disguise because I was able to manage my 2 kids by then, family, and also, in fact, satisfy my intellectual curiosities, you can say. After spending few years over there, then I thought that now my ability would be better served in private sector. And that was the move to Delhi. So I moved to Delhi, did some short stints here and there, and finally stepped into the corporate world of multinational corporations. And since then, touch wood, there has been no looking back for me. And I have really been very, very fortunate to have worked with the great companies of the world and in the leadership position. Companies like Monsanto, DuPont, MSD, which is Merck, PepsiCo, Microsoft, and here I am in front of you. Why I am sharing this story? So basically the objective of sharing this story is to say that all this was made possible because of the enabling environment and the support which was provided to me right from my childhood by my parents, later on by of course my family, and after that the organizations, the companies wherever I worked, the culture towards diversity and inclusiveness, and the inclusive behavior which I also tried to adapt in my life, which really helped this small village girl to grow and do well in her career and break many glass ceilings later. So this is my journey, and what I wanted to share, and rather the message which I wanted to give to all the women colleagues and all the inspiring women leader, that this path, of course, I have tried to sum up in 5 minutes, but it's not the easy one. Especially path up the corporate ladder is not the easy one, especially if you are wearing a high heels. It's strewn with challenges and also dealing with the stereotype mindset about women, right? Struggles in juggling work-life balance. But despite all these things, it is not impossible. We can really move up. Another thing which I realized, and I still struggle with that, is the belief and doubt. So a lot has to do with our own beliefs and doubts. More often than not, we women hold ourselves back, fearing that we are not ready for it. And to me, that's the elephant in the room. That basically, that's primarily in our heads, right? That's the one which we have to win. And for the time we are born, most of us, especially in Indian culture, right? We hear that, oh, we need to be a great wives, we need to be a great woman. And when we grow up believing that the role of a perfect woman, and as a result, what happens that when we decide to do something which is stray from the defined path, the self-doubt, guilt takes over. So first of all, friends, we need to identify the trade-offs, what we have to make, and then make it with peace. Make peace with them. And then the definition of those perfect women which is really a moving target. It differs from one woman to another, and it really depending upon the dreams and aspirations what they have. So just because my mother was a perfect housewife or could cook like a dream, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to also do the same. So be sure what you want. That's my message. All of us are designed very, very differently. And what we have different dreams and aspirations. So let's be honest with yourself and decide what makes you happy in life. Even being a great housewife or great wives, I think that is also it gives a lot of fulfillment, right? And so so we have to really, so there is no right or wrong answers over here. Another thing which I wanted to speak about the workplace. So once you are in the workplace, leave the gender out of equation as much as possible. Work hard, work smart, and don't expect a different kind of treatment just because you are women. Because very conveniently we say, oh, we are women, so we should have like this liberty, that liberty. No. When we are talking about equality, I think we have to walk the talk. So step 1 to equality is believing you are equal and deserve the same treatment, compensation, and rewards as men. So this is my another piece of advice. And the third piece of advice which I would like to give is about network. So keep cultivating your network. Networking matters throughout your career. So these are the mantras which I have adopted, and I found it pretty, I think it really did well for me. Cultivating your personal and professional network is what will likely to open doors for you. And this is really true, whether you are starting your own company or finding new opportunities in your current organization. Network always helps. Mentorship always helps. And I believe that and I hope that this inspires the generation of women to keep reaching to the greatest professional height. Many of us, I am sure, listening in being in the call, must have come from the humble beginning like me. But we make something of ourselves through pursuit of knowledge, hard work, integrity, and of course, with little help of our friends, from our friends, right? Families. So yes, we have every right to be proud of it, proud of our achievement, and celebrate it together. So thank you very much for this opportunity. It was really great listening to the entire panel and also sharing my thought. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Nilima ji. And you have a long way to go. We've just started with the panelists, but we all love the village girl next door who struggled with her stilettos and got to succeed. So it's really fascinating, your story to success. And I completely love what you said about cultivating personal and professional network. I'm sure that is a key. And everything that you taught, again, for everyone who's coming from a background that needs to learn, this is truly inspirational. So thank you for that. As we move on to Miss Ira Singhal, somebody I totally adore, 6 foot tall. Ira, here we go.
Thank you so much, Sanjana, and it has been amazing listening to the whole panel. Is it not audible?
It's not very clear.
Okay.
Is that better?
Is that better?
Can everybody hear?
Probably you need to come closer to the mic, Ira.
Yeah. Okay. Does that work? Better? I can be very loud as well. So.
Yes, you're very clear now.
Okay, thank you. So I'm an engineer. I'm a computer engineer. And I just wanted to ask if anybody knows this thing. There was a joke in engineering college. What is a girl in an engineering college called? The answer is a visitor. And unfortunately, that's been the role of women, which is, there in the mindset of women when it comes to entering fields of STEM. One of the main reasons is that STEM is a field where you need to be able to ask questions, display curiosity, and really be, willing to step out of the line. That's the only way to succeed in STEM. And unfortunately, women in particular have always been asked to stay within the line. Since you're born, you're given this guilt of being a girl. So if you notice, if a girl is born, the first thing the family says, or even the doctors and the nurses say to you, oh, it's okay, it's a Lakshmi that has come, don't worry, the next one will be better. You should welcome the child. And the family then goes around saying, yes, we are very happy. It's a girl, it's a Lakshmi, it's a God gift. We are okay with it. That itself, that moment itself, is giving the girl a guilt of having been born a girl. From that moment, she, as she grows older, she's constantly taught to, be a better girl, be a perfect girl. Good girls don't do this, good girls don't do that. And unfortunately, there are layers and layers of guilt that are piled onto her, which basically say that you're not perfect, you're not well. And science in particular is a field where a lot of self-confidence is needed, a lot of belief in yourself is needed. And for women, that is slowly chipped away from childhood. All of us here on this panel are people whose parents did not do that to us, did not tell us since childhood that there was something wrong in being a girl. And now you have to strive for perfection because that mistake happened. And for women, generally thinking for yourself, asking questions, it's never allowed. In fact, in school, if you ask questions, you're considered an aggressive girl, or you're considered a bad girl, or you're considered someone who's, irritating others. So in particular, in women, the curiosity part, the exploration part is always curbed. In fact, how many girls are there who actually have a screwdriver in their hand when they're 7, 8 years old and they go exploring? We give our boys mechanical toys, we give our girls dolls. That's how we treat our women. We, since childhood, condition our girls to think of themselves away from technical things, away from scientific things. We tell them that you have to stay within this box, within this boundary, and do what you're told. While that itself kind of kills their interest in science and their ability in science to a large extent. Science is about asking questions, about wanting to explore, about challenging what you're being told, research and having time for yourself. And unfortunately, women in particular are pushed away from all of that from childhood. Indians in a normal set also are a risk-averse society. We're a society wherein we don't allow our boys to take risks. When it comes to girls, it's even worse. So as a risk-averse society, if our first step itself is to tell our people follow the already tread path, follow the route that is set and that everybody else has been doing, that kills the innovation and that kills our ability to do science. Unfortunately, science and technology actually is the one way women can become equal. It's with how technology has advanced that has given women more and more opportunities. As we move away from physical strength to mental strength with the help of technology, more and more women can now be a part of society as equals. If you think about it, the technological level of the metros is a lot higher than it is in the rural areas, which is why the kind of numbers of women that we see contributing to the GDP is much higher in the metros than it is in the rural areas, right? So as we grow higher in technology, the contribution of women goes up. So technology, unfortunately, is actually the one way women can really be a part of the society as equals. Women can really achieve empowerment, and unfortunately, that's the one thing that we've kept away from because of the way we are brought up. And one of the biggest things that women suffer from, and that's something that has been addressed by the other speakers as well, is about the lack of confidence. And science, you do science because you have confidence in yourself, and science also promotes confidence in yourself. If you're capable of handling technologies, if you're capable of dealing with technologies, if you're someone who deals with science and technology on an everyday basis and you do a good job with it, that's when you start gaining your confidence. It works wonders in your self-belief, in your self-perception, and it really empowers you in the true sense. But unfortunately, that's the one thing that women are made scared of. You would hear a lot many girls say, I don't understand technology, than you would men. For women, it's also considered okay to not be technologically savvy and not know what they're doing. I think that's the one escape route also which we need to prevent. Plus, one of the bigger reasons that you need to be a part of the STEM field is if you are not part of something, and you don't understand something, it's only then that thing can be used against you. With all of these technologies, women's safety also becomes an issue. With internet and with media sharing and all of that, a lot of women are getting abused in different ways. And the way you can stop your abuse is actually to be aware of all the technology available and understanding all of this and understanding how it all works. We need more and more women in STEM. Also to protect women from STEM, and to empower women through STEM. And we must remember, if I'm not a part of the policy, then the solution that comes out of that policy will not be for me. So if I'm not a part of the, people designing solutions, designing science technologies, then they're not going to be for me. One of the bigger things that we always talk about is the best policy and the best solution that is ever made is the one which has complete inclusion. People from all walks of life, people from all areas of life. And unless they're a part of the team making it, I'll give you an example. My best friend happens to be this person who's completely my opposite. He weighs 100 kgs more than me. He's 6 feet tall and, all of those things. And when he and I make a plan, unless we both put our heads together, the plan will be only suitable for one person. So if I make a plan, I'll pick places which have tiny seats and I can fit into them, and he is extremely uncomfortable. While if he makes the plans, I'm unable to do those activities because they're very physically strenuous. So unless women are part of the team designing them, team making all of those things, those solutions will never be for women. And for us, for our safety, for our health, it's important that we're a part of all of that. And especially from the perspective of girls with disabilities, actually technology is the one solution which really makes it possible for us to go out and work in the world and to be an equal contributing part. People with disabilities anyway have mobility restrictions, and girls with disability have it worse. But with technology, you don't need to go out. All those things are coming to you in your home. And which is why if you want all of those solutions for yourself, you need to be a part of the one making the solutions. So it's a brilliant topic that we have, and I hope we've had amazing role models in the field of STEM. I hope more and more come forward, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Ira, from not just being a visitor in engineering college, but stepping up and being a first among equals. You're definitely way ahead, and rightfully so. Technology is the way forward, especially for women in the rural areas. So I'm sure everybody is going to work towards making that happen and make that dream come true. So thank you for that. And now we have Dr. Priya Abraham.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a happy Women's Day to our co-chairs of this program, to the illustrious panelists we have on this program, and I'm really honored to be part of this deliberation. I would just like to bring in a bit of my own life journey and put in the message that I would like to give for this Women's Day. I should say that I grew up in a very, very happy-go-lucky, privileged background. I grew up on a big wooded campus, and a bit like what Dr. Pita Rajaram said, I was happy-go-lucky, swinging from banyan tree roots, just like with the boys, doing anything the boys did. And I think since I didn't have brothers, my parents, particularly my dad, raised my sister and me with, you know, every access to every form of, you know, fun that children could have in those days. And I'm very grateful to them for that. I was also lucky to go to a very good co-education school where, and I think my parents deliberately put us into a co-educational school. So we were comfortable, you know, moving with boys, being one among boys, and that gender neutrality stepped in even then. And I think I had the good fortune to be the head girl in my final year of school. It was a big school with the, you know, out measuring the boys in my class. Not that the boys in my class are not accomplished today. They're one of the most accomplished people I know on the planet. I was also lucky to go to one of the best private medical schools in this country, Christian Medical College, Vellore. I did my MBBS, my MD, and my PhD from there. I come from a family where my mother, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law are all PhDs, academicians. So we come from that kind of, I should say, empowered background, and CMC provided me no less. I should say, in my growth in that institute, there was no gender discrimination. But I would like to say, as a young mother who was trying to balance my postgraduate degree with rearing a young family, we lived on the campus. There were relatives who would come in to see as patients. They stayed with us, looking after them, looking after family, trying to be no less compared to my other colleagues who were not yet married, whereas I was a young mother. That was a struggle. I will not say it was easy, and it required of me to be extremely focused with what I was doing. When I was at work, when I had seminars and presentations, I just gave it my all, but it took a lot out of me. And I also gleaned that sometimes that extreme focus that we women have to have, because we are actually balancing many things at different stages in our life, can very conveniently be misconstrued by men as being aggressive. That's not true at all. Our focus is not aggression. In fact, I believe women make the best communicators. Women are capable of showing much more empathy. Women are better at multitasking. Women can wear multiple hats at one time. And that myth has to be dispelled. And but while I say thus far that things went fairly good for me, even though at sometimes it was a struggle, I am aware of many young girls and who aspire to have a career in STEM and who are in awe of it, who believe they don't measure up. I think the first thing we need to instill in young girls right from their formative years is that they need to believe in themselves. They have something special on their own. And that confidence building in the early formative years is really, really important. Provide young girls equal opportunities to get equipped and to learn and to acquire skills just as much as men would do. Give them, as was mentioned earlier, give them access to the infrastructure. And what has really helped me in my subsequent growth in my career is that I had a good mentor. So we must look around for good role models. And if we are able to have, chemistry with good role models who could give us advice, who could guide us, who know our own our strengths and our weaknesses. A good mentor, a well-meaning mentor is a really valuable person to have in your climb, in your career. As was mentioned repeatedly, I cannot emphasize it more, is that we need to seek good peer support. Peer support, both personally and professionally, is invaluable. And young women out there, I need to say this to you. When you feel you're not up to it, or you have some apprehension about the path you're taking, please share. Don't bottle it all up. Sharing, bouncing your ideas, your fears, your concerns with your peer group will help you a long way. I want to also emphasize, like the previous speaker said, every college, every university, every institution must take a very, very deliberate attempt to provide childcare support for young researchers, young professionals, because women really are the kind who can't just shut off the fact that their little one is at home. I mean, when my son was growing up, he was at the mercy of the house help. It should not be that way. We should have good childcare support in the institution, so that if your child is not well, or you think needs a little extra support, a young mother could be able to reach out to the child, and with the childcare support in that institution, tide over those days when you're really concerned about your little one. I also think the flexibility of working from home, maybe adjustable hours, and also being able to have this extendable age limit for many positions will go a long way for the woman. But having said all that, like the previous speaker said, once we are at the workplace, gender neutrality is very important. Don't expect any allowances in your output, in your quality of work. You are just as good as the man next to you. I do know that it might sound all idealistic when I say this, and when I've stepped out for different meetings and different fora, yes, I do encounter men who, in their body language and in the content of their talk, might sometimes discount what you have to say, who, intrinsically believe a woman can't match up. We will match up. Just hang in there. I think we are made of that kind of stuff, of grit and determination. The first step is to believe in yourself. And I think no better gender understands that work-life balance. So as we climb the ladder in our respective areas, we need to understand that as we climb that ladder and we get into leadership positions, success is not measured by just one person. A successful venture really is the outcome of a team. So value teams, value your colleagues, get to know a little of their personal lives. Many people have not so pleasant, not so happy sides to them that make them be what they are at work. Have that humane angle to you, and you will be a winner. In the last 1 year, 15 months or so here at the National Institute of Virology, I have come from a private medical school into the central government, and many of you do know the National Institute of Virology had a very, very leadership role in this past 1 year in the COVID pandemic. We have moved from detecting the first cases of SARS coronavirus in the country, doing the first electron micrography, the first isolation, the first indigenous kit, doing several clinical trials, and then finally partnering with one of the pharmas for making India's own indigenous vaccine. It has been a roller coaster ride, and it has not been possible. It would not have been possible had I not taken my team along. So I think for us, as once we are set in our career track, we need to remember we cannot climb the ladder of success if we do not take people with us. So with that, let me wind off, and I want to wish each one of you, all the listeners, a very special Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Priya, Dr. Priya Abraham. You know, I have to tell you, kudos, and not just because of the contribution during COVID times, but I think the work that's gone in over the years, because without you, I don't think a lot of things would have worked so effectively within the short time. And from swinging like Tarzan Boy to now leading the workforce to protecting India, you know, it's a great inspiration. And your word about, you know, valuing your peers, being humane, and definitely having a good mentor. All these are great thoughts, and definitely something, again, all of us will take home with us. So thank you so much for all your contribution, especially during COVID times. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we move on to Dr. Mrs. Meenakshi Munshi.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank organizers for inviting me to this excellent panel discussion. We heard earlier panelists. It has really opened up a lot of avenues to think through how to move about. I have been asked, first of all, I would say Happy Women's Day to all of us. I have been asked to share my journey and the lessons learned. I come from Kashmir. That place is always in news for the past 30 years. And I will share my journey with you. I come from Kashmir, a small place. I didn't want to discuss about you. My earlier predecessors have talked about the statistics about the women in STEM and where we lack in and where we need to move. So I would like to say in Kashmir, my initial role model was my grandmother. And before that, I would like to tell you, because I have seen her always slogging. And then I was very lucky to see my friend's mother. She was like a friend to me. I wasn't very open with my mother. Those days, you couldn't talk anything under the sky. She was a convent teacher. She still is in Delhi. And I used to share with her. So I used to always say, can I be like her? Can I be more friendly with people around? But, having my mother was little very suppressive because there was a reason for it. When she was a kid, and I think 13 or 14 years of age, she once saw a mirror. And then in the evening when her father came and her mother was very edgy about it, she told that we must get this girl married. So my grandfather asked, what happened? What did she do? You know what? She was looking at the mirror in the daytime. So my mother came from that kind of a background, and then she was very much that my daughters should study. They should become self-dependent. And at the same time, in Kashmir, there was a saying that, for a woman, she should be able to do garbar and darbar both. That means garbar means the house and darbar is the office work. So I grew up in this kind of a culture. And as I moved along in this, you'll be surprised to know, I really didn't know what is PhD. I was once traveling in a bus as a school kid coming from a school picnic. And I was standing and there was a lady next to me. She said, hey, why don't you come and share your seat with me? I said, okay. And then she asked me, so where are you coming from? What are you doing? I said, I'm a student of class 5 and I'd gone to the picnic. So I, as a curiosity child, I asked her, what are you doing? And she told me she's doing PhD. I didn't know what it means, no head tail. So I asked her, I mustered a little courage and said, what is PhD? To make a small child understand what PhD is, she said, well, you write a book. I was, struck. What is she telling me? I go to the bookstore down the lane and buy a book. How can you write a book? Believe me, that became a game changer for me to do PhD. Just because nothing, no thesis work, no idea, I am going to write a book. So as I grew up, then, taking science was a option. So I opted for science. But suddenly, I realized one fine morning, because when you transit from 10th to the 11th, there's a sea change in the curricula, and I found it difficult to manage. So I came home and told my father, I don't think I'll be able to manage science. I should go for humanities. So his only thing was, he said, what is your worry? I said, I may fail. He said, okay, you fail, I have no issues. And that is the day. And I have been in science since then day till today. And okay, moved along, did my PhD in Baba Atomic Research Center. And then next was looking for the postdoc. So the first thing again here came that mother's inhibition. Postdoc, no, it's better you get married first. Well, she allowed my brother to go for a postdoc. But for me, it was like, no, you do your, get married and then go wherever you feel like. But anyway, destiny had something else. In the meantime, when I was looking for the job, I got a permanent position way back in Kashmir. So my father came and gave me the offer letter. I said, well, I don't want to do this because I want to do research. As you know, coming from Kashmir, from a small setup, all my family members through FIT, oh, she's got a government job, so-called gazetted officer's job, and she's leaving it to be on a soft position. But I had no option than to go back and joined the so-called job for 3 months, cajoling but my brother came as a big savior, and he said, no, she's a qualified, she will get a job, don't worry. So came back, left the job. In the meantime, as usual, everybody has to go through this marriage and things. I got married. I was still on a soft position with a small child with me. And then I was working as a researcher, but unfortunately, because of I had to make a shift. I had to have a plan B. So I went to the doctor and he said, if you want to sustain more longer, you need to stop your research, do something else. So what to do next? So I talked to my mentor, to my boss. He said, why don't you try some writing? I said, okay, let me try. And that gave birth to so-called plan B. I went to do journalism and mass communication. And by the time I had to do I was evaluated for the next level or to be the permanent. So I had a good number of papers which are important in scientific career. So went to the next level. But all those years, the only thing what I was telling to me, those positive affirmations, it will happen. I'm going to do it. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. You know, like in the 3 Idiots, Amir Khan says, all is well, all is well. So that kind of attitude I kept with myself to move on. And after some time, I got an opportunity to move from a research career to the science manager. I moved to the Department of Biotechnology as a science manager, as a science administrator, policy maker. Every job has its own challenges, but we need to face them. We need to, it doesn't matter, it will happen. If not today, as my earlier predecessor said, if you are low at times, sometimes the day is not with you, but doesn't matter. You talk to your friends, talk to your peers. Maybe, they help, talking to them helps. So then I realized, if I'm not able to do research myself, can I be an enabler to help other people, be it men or women, to do science in a better way? So we at the Department of Biotechnology, as you are aware, we support biotechnology research across the disciplines. So I handle many programs. Some are women-centric programs. We had that's called a BioCare, which this is for because women have to take a break during their career for the family reasons. So we formulated new scheme for women who are having a career break. And I would like to share some data with you. So far, 361 scientists were supported under this BioCare program. 32 got permanent position after they availed this, and 250 papers were published. They generated patents. So what I mean to tell you, in wherever field we are, we can make a difference. We can help others. I know, as my earlier predecessor said, we need to network. It's very, very important. We need to network with people from same area or even from different fields, because that helps us to connect. There is always a connect. with all of us.
Dr.
So,
Munshi, sorry to interrupt, Dr. Munshi. We're running a little short on time, so I would just like all our panelists to keep the
I'll just finishing in just 2
view.
minutes.
Yes,
I
please.
just want to.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Sorry about that,
yes.
but I just had to remind you, Dr.
No,
Munshi.
that's fine.
Thank
so
you.
what my takeaway lesson, I was coming to that only. What my takeaway lesson for all of us is we don't have to be afraid of failures, because every experience teaches us something. We need to believe in our own self. I feel it is a secret to success. If you want to be successful, you must respect one rule. That's never lie to yourself. We need to express yourself, even if you shake sometimes. We need to express and not impress. That's very important, I feel, as a woman. We need to work for a cause and not for applause. It will follow if we work. We need to stay strong. And one thing I would always say, we need to give up giving up. That is what I feel all of us need to understand this. Life is a God's gift. Whatever the conditions are there, we must move on. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with the excellent panel here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Munshi. Yes, to never give up. I'm sure that's the motto. And when, I know that you're somebody who's lived and by example shown everybody that. So thank you for that. I would just like to remind all the panelists that we are short on time. So if we could keep it brisk and of course, right up to the point. We have Miss Ruchira Jetli coming up next.
Hi, Sanjana. Hi, panelists. I mean, there's been so much said that clearly I'd like to be, well, short and crisp and stay to the point, because there's been a ton that's been said. It's a fabulous panel, truly. 3 things I want to talk about versus getting into a career journey, which, well, I'd love to have done that, but I think I'm not sure how interesting that would be. Three things and 3 themes that stood out for me from also the way the panelists were talking about their own journeys. One is about flexible paths. I started as a STEM student on biochem and microbiology. I always wanted to do science. I never wanted to do anything else, right? And then somewhere I took a U-turn and did an MBA instead. And I used to think that I've wasted that education. And then I landed up in Unilever, where I was managing hair care products. And I'd be debating with the scientists who were developing formulations. I'd debate with them the relative merits of claims that we could make, which were ethical, legal, tenable, and consumer friendly. And they'd look at me with shock and horror saying, oh my God, this woman's talking to us about microbiology and growth media, right? I then went to PepsiCo, which most people think of as a lot of fun as a marketer. You're working with these celebrities. But there I was actually spearheading a lot of the healthier options as well. So we did sodium reduction, unhealthy fat reduction. We talked about, all kinds of health and better products for children. So you didn't have to feel guilty about giving those snacks with high fiber, with calcium, all the things that children needed. And I loved being part of that because I could be the change because I knew the science behind it. I then spearheaded a nutrition startup at DSM, a company that was all about low-cost nutrition, accessible nutrition to eliminate malnutrition in India. And that was passion and purpose driving it, as well as the fact that I knew the commercials. And then I could also understand the science. Those flexible paths mean that it never goes to waste. So how do we trap that energy? I think Mrs. Puri spoke about it. She spoke about how there's so many children, women, girls who go through STEM, but there's a leaky pyramid. How do we keep them there? Whether it's mentoring, whether it's role models. The second thing that I want to talk about is resilience. And that's possibly got to do with the leaky pyramid, right? How do you keep the resilience? And one of my favorite authors or books of late has been Michelle Obama's Becoming. And she actually writes in it, and I love this quote. The most successful people I know of have learned to live with criticism, to lean on people who believe in them, and then to push on for their goals. And that is so true. You have to live with criticisms that will come to you, particularly as a woman, because you're managing so many different roles. We all want to have children. We all want to have nice homes. We all want to have a great family life, but we also want our careers and we want our jobs and we want to be fulfilled at them. So push on, stay in there. And that's what I advise a lot of people, a lot of young women whom I mentor who look at me and say, you know what, right now, I feel like the whole world's coming at me. You know, whether it's people at home, whether it's kids, whether it's work, and I'm constantly trying to prove myself. You're like, yeah, sure, just hang in there. It only gets better. It only gets better because as you go along the years, people get to know you. Those who want to criticize you, let them do it. You'll find your allies. A lot of people spoke about mentors. What I want is to challenge every woman on this panel to be a sponsor, not a mentor. A mentor is someone who sits in an armchair and tells you what to do. That's great. A sponsor is someone who uses their personal capital to pull you up. And I think women need to be the biggest sponsors for other women. I am absolutely passionate about it. Because if we don't sponsor other women to come up, then we're being armchair intellectuals. And I'm being deliberately, I guess, confrontational about this one. I think that's so important to young women. And when you are a sponsor, what you're telling people, and again, I'm quoting from the book Becoming, it says confidence, right? I'd learned then, sometimes needs to be called out from within. And I've repeated the same words to myself so many times now through so many clients. Am I good enough? And then I have to say, yes, I am. And that is true for so many of us. I think we've all spoken about it in some form and manner. Am I good enough? Of course you are. Put your hand up, take on the challenges, challenge status quo. Again, that's a message that I like giving to anyone who asks me about what's been defining is don't ever consider yourself less. You are probably where you are because your parents or your teachers or your peers thought you were really smart and told you and gave you that positive validation. But a lot of the times you need to get it from inside yourself, because as you go up the pyramid, there are going to be less and less people who are going to give you that validation externally. It has to come internally. And I found that in my latest role, where I'm the only woman maybe in the leadership team, there are lots of these women across the globe in marketing kind of roles, but no one's doing product and go-to-market roles and as a woman. And I find that when I was offered this role, my first question was, oh, shoot, will I be able to manage it? And I said, here I am doing this to myself yet again. Of course, I can put my hand up and do it. And if my manager says he thinks I can handle it, why shouldn't I put my hand up for it and go ahead and do it? That's a message that I think a lot of us have been through. It's internalized, where we second guess, we doubt, and you've heard that from so many panelists. So for me, I think flexibility and knowing that the paths will get there, resilience and staying in the game, knowing that you'll get there somehow. And finally, really setting yourself up for the challenges and knowing that you're good enough to keep it. Those are some of the themes I've got from all these incredible women on the panel. They're all people I wish I could have met in person. I'd love to be sitting and really exchanging anecdotes. But thank you for this opportunity. Like I said, like I promised, Anjana, I'm keeping it brief. But it's been a terrific sharing session. Yeah. And I really feel like I wish we could all walk out of today, mentor and sponsor more women, talk about our experiences more actively and say, we didn't know the answers, but we went and did it, and really, really put ourselves out there. It's not self-promotion. It is actually telling people that people like us and people like them exist, and we should be loud and proud about it. So that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Ruchira. That was perfect. Becoming, I think you're doing PR for Michelle Obama, and I have to read the book now.
No, I'm not.
I'm kidding. Hey, guys, it's 2:15 a.m. in the morning for me in New York, and I'm trying to keep awake. So that really woke me up. But one very important note. We are on the first panel now, and we are going through the first panel and the panelists. When we come to the second panel, I will, of course, take up the name and announce each person. So please don't take it in any other way. We are on the first panel right now, and quick, because we have to go on to the next one too. Next one, the next very important, empowering woman out here is Miss Nidhi Arora.
Hi, good afternoon. Let me start by saying what a wonderful, it's such a pleasure and privilege to be here and to be listening to all these women who are sharing what all of us typically say that we didn't know and we worked it out. I'll try and be crisp and brief. I come from IT, which I now understand is the endangered species of women leadership. So I'll go through my journey really quickly. There is a Javed Akhtar couplet that I would like to start with. It says, "Hum to bachpan mein bhi akele the, sirf dil ki gali mein khele the," which means even in my childhood, I was lonely, and the only place I could play was the lanes of my heart. It turns out that I come from a family where girls are married off at 16. So for 6 years, I fought my parents for the right to get educated. They had my best interests at heart, but I had to be Jonathan Livingston Seagull. So with that, then I went for MBA to IMCAL. IMCAL is, my batch was 67% engineers and 90% men, so I was neither. So being the only woman in the room has come rather naturally to me. After that, in the IT career, my IT career spans from machine language programming to machine programming, which means when we started, we were taught about machine language programming 0101 to today, you tell a computer what to do and it writes the code for you. That's machine programming. So without going into the specifics of that, let's talk about why I think there are few women in IT, and my specific advice is for young women who are coming there after me. A lot of us shy away from IT because we think of it as an industry with an 8 p.m. workday. Every single one of those 18 years, I've left at 5 p.m. After the child, yes, because I had to pick up the child from daycare, but before that, because I valued my personal time and daily growth. So IT is a very knowledge-led industry, and therefore, if you are somehow able to demonstrate to your team that you bring that contribution and knowledge to the table, you will get their respect. For me, a challenge was I transitioned from being an individual contributor, and my background is not BTech. By education, I'm a commerce graduate with an MBA. So thanks to AppTech for not insisting that we be mathematics or physics graduates before teaching us coding. My exposure in coding came really early during my pre-grad. So it's not an 8 p.m. workday. Thankfully, all my employers have also been super supportive in that. Secondly, do not confuse STEM with coding. There are many, many things to do in IT, and it's a huge field today. Coding is not the future of IT. Thought leadership is. And I think women can do very well in IT security. One area in which I find a lot of potential, but not enough women, is security. I did a technical course in IT security, and the course is called Certified Ethical Hacking. It is the opposite of hacking when we actually do the course. Third, don't think about tech. Think about applications of tech. At the Children's Post, we made very, very simple use of technology. We just eliminated printing and took that to the home of the reader. And suddenly it eliminated geographical barriers for us. It eliminated capital costs for our business. And in all my 3 sectors, we've applied tech very innovatively. So think about the applications of tech. And I second Ms. Lakshmi Puri's and everyone else's recommendation of creating a mentoring platform that keeps in mind the needs of women. Or mentoring is very different from mentoring for someone else who may be in a different life situation. And for us, it's a lot more volatile and dynamic also. At 20, one can be a solo traveler. At 25, one needs to be home at 8 p.m. At 28, or if there is a child, you need to be home at 5 p.m. But all of those are stages of life, and most importantly, they all pass. And my final message is, please do not see the walls. Do not worry about lack of agency. Create agency for the others who are coming after you. After me, every single woman in my family has graduated, and no one asks a girl anymore about why they need to study. Thank you so much.
Wow, the trendsetter, and I'm sure you open the roads for everybody to come forward, especially the women in your family and to many more around you. Thank you, Nidhi Arora. And now we have Dr. Indu Bunsel Agarwal.
Very warm good morning, good afternoon to all excellencies and dignitaries on and off the dais. My very special hello to each one of you. And trust me, I'm thrilled beyond words to be among the gathering of highly accomplished, beautiful inside, outside, powerful influencers. I would like to share a few lines which I wrote for all of you. And the poem is, "She was unstoppable. She wore accessories as the exclamation mark of a woman's outfit, and her tears flew as abundantly as her laughter. Her self-esteem was not tied up in anyone's acceptance, and she wanted to view the world from the lens of I am possible. With these lines, I would like to thank ASSOCHAM and Narayana Health and Commander Bali for having me here for this meeting. So God made men, and then he was not satisfied, and then he created women. So I haven't met ever any single woman who is not strong, but still in India, only 11% committee chairs are held by women, and even lesser in STEM fields. The women in leadership and STEM is terra incognita. We have to rebalance this powerful dynamics and bridge this gender inequality by understanding the existing barriers. I think, as has been spoken before also, the first and foremost barrier starts at home in upbringing of boys and girls are taught never to disagree. There are gender stereotypes, lack of female role models, lack of vertical networks, and constant tussle of work-life disintegration. And remember, a female is perceived as either competitive or likable, but never both. That is the problem. There is huge salary discrepancy also. So she has to overcome barriers both in the content areas and leadership areas for truly equitable participation. And the leadership has to be more participative than directive, more enabling than performing. And remember, it's not just she for she. There has to be he for she also. Only then we can move forward and make leaders in STEM possible. So if a woman in STEM has to reach leadership positions, my mantras would be, first, to have calligraphic confidence, learn to claim credit for our own ideas. So many times we let our ideas being claimed by others. So please learn to claim credit for your ideas and don't ever give anyone permission to disrespect you. I think this is a very important point. Don't ever give anyone permission to disrespect you. Learn to invest in peer network. A lot has been said about that. And build lateral and multi-generational networks. That's also important. And learn to cross-pollinate in different spaces, leading to innovative alliances. Support other women, because remember, girls compete, but women enable each other. They empower each other. Create a mentoring web and have a mentor and be your internal mentor as well and hear to your inner voice. Give meaningful advocacy to others and learn to accept and acknowledge your mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Believe in authentic collaborative leadership for others. On your brand, take calculated risks. Recognize new opportunities as good ones are messy, confusing, and risky. Remember, comfort and growth, they don't go hand in hand. And what is very important is be emotionally intelligent. Take criticism seriously, but not personally. She should have emotional protection kit at all times. Wear the mask of confidence and self-affirmation. Wear gloves of humility and love. Sanitize all your thoughts, words, and actions with wisdom, because remember, kindness can never be quarantined. Worship your body. This is very important. As women, if we are not healthy, if we don't go for cancer checkups, if we don't take care of our mental and physical health, the family and the nation can never ever progress. So eat your food on time as well if you want to be successful leaders. So my closing remarks would be, claim your own tiara, accept yourself and all your myriad imperfections, declare a war on yourself, be addicted to bettering yourself, don't try to fit in the glass slipper, break the glass ceiling. Learn to sit on the table, have strength and resilience, be a whole person at work. At work, don't think about home. Give your 100% at workplace. Don't chase, get chosen. Be fierce, be fearless, be flawed. Be just incredibly you. Because Adi Abadi, Pura Hak, that is what we want, not just for us, but for everyone around us. These are my few words that I would say to all the beautiful ladies and all the beautiful people who are glued onto their screens and listening to us. Thank you so much for having me here.
Dr. Indu Bunsel. And yes, disrespect, to claim credit, I'm sure, again, valuable thoughts and words from you, and your poem, She Was Unstoppable. Well, I think all the women on this panel are, and they will make sure that the women are not in the background, but in the forefront. So last person in this panel is Dr. Kanika Sharma.
So hi, being the last one, I think I'll be echoing most of it because most of the people have said what I really want to say. But I would say I have few points which I really feel necessary to be brought out. First of all, we know that we are underrepresented as a gender in the fields of STEM because we are donning many hats. We are homemakers, we are a care provider, and definitely we have added care responsibilities. But these barriers are to be converted into opportunities. And my story is just making these barriers as an opportunity. I was born in the privileged family of having doctors all around, being almost 33, with the earliest woman doctor 3 generations back. So I did not face those challenges. But yes, the challenges came in when you came into the glorious world of corporates. There you saw that you need to represent yourself not as a person of your family. You're here representing a woman facing the challenges against your face in many streams, especially when it comes to working with a child care in your hand. So that is the time I realized that all our organizations are not very child care friendly. And I was determined from that very day that I will create an environment which is child care friendly in my department. So I have brought in flexibility. I staggered duties. I encouraged my juniors to have their second child, the first child. I am standing behind you. You go for it. Created rooms for milk expression, created staggered duty hours. They can go back home, look at the child, come back. And in these times, the COVID times, where the healthcare has faced the maximum adversities, we've been walking on a tightrope, not being able to go to your families for 15 days. That is the time I created more flexibility for our women, so that they could address their family needs, which have increased by multitude in COVID times, because you have added responsibilities of home tutoring also. You are the cook, you are the maid, you are everything. So that flexibility has worked. So that is my mantra.
Kanika,
So
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
I know you're cutting me
really
short.
on time. I'm
But
sorry about that.
I have to give my
we
mantra,
have
but
another panel and we have to cut short. Sorry about that. So if you could
I
finish
have to
off.
give you my mantra. So my
Okay, the
mantra
mantra is
no me, it is we. You alone cannot do anything. Make it we, be it your team, be it your family. Delegate work. Just don't become the superwoman. Superwomen do exist, but in stories. Be the we person and involve everybody around you in supporting you in whatever you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all the wonderful panelists. As we quickly move on to the second panel discussion, which is women and their aspirations, I request all the panelists, please do keep it short. It's just that we are really short on time and we want to hear each one of you. We have our eminent panelists on this, Padma Shri, Mrs. Rajni Bhakta, owner, Kanika Foods. We have Ms. Nirja Shetty, CEO and Director, Sami Sabinsa Group. Mrs. Upasana Arora, Chairperson, Yashoda Super Specialty Hospital, Co-Chair ASSOCHAM, Healthcare Council, Co-Chair ASSOCHAM, Women Empowerment Council, Padma Shri Professor Rohini M. Godbole, Center for High Energy Physics, Indian Institute of Science, Ms. Pratishta de Weshwar, Global Leadership Initiative Fellow, the Oxford Character Project, Ms. Benu Segal, President, Retail Omax Group, Ms. Tanu Jain, CEO, Cantonment Board, Dehradun, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, Mr. Himanshu Rathod, Head, CS and Admin, GCMMF Limited, Amul, and Ms. Namita Chadha, Founder and Managing Partner, Chadha and Co. We are starting with Padma Shri, Mrs. Rajni Bhakta. And I request all of you to please keep it short. Thank you. Mrs. Rajni Bhakta, are you, if you're not here, then we move on to the next person, Miss Nirja Shetty, Could we please have Miss Nirja Shetty? Hello.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, all the women out there. Wish you all a very happy Women's Day, International Women's Day. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on this platform. And yeah, that's my profile there. Okay, okay, because I'm still carrying the profile of Mrs. Rajni, Padma Shri Mrs. Rajni. So thank you very much for sharing my profile. So I'll keep it short and sweet. I know because again and again there's emphasis on keeping it really short and brief. All right. So just speaking about my journey and what I do and what I've done, etc. I come from a very conservative, again, like some of the other women on this particular platform. I come from a very conservative community, which is the Shetty community. Of course, you see actresses like Aishwarya Rai, Shilpa Shetty, etc. out there. But honestly, by the age of 21, if you're not married, then probably you'll never get married your entire life. So that's the kind of community I come from. So, but that said, to be very honest, in my own family, being a product of a single parent, because I lost my dad at the age of 11, my mom never, because I have two siblings. A younger
All
sister.
the other panelists, please mute while the one panelist is speaking. Please mute everybody else. I appreciate that. Thank you. Go ahead, Nirja.
Yeah. I have two siblings. I have a younger sister and a kid brother. Thankfully, I grew up in a family where I faced absolutely no gender bias whatsoever. And I was free to study. I was free to go and do whatever I felt like doing. And I think, which is why if someone looks up my LinkedIn profile, I always say that the biggest inspiration in my life happens to be my mom, who never stopped me from doing whatever I felt like doing. All right. So this is my 25th year of working in the pharmaceutical industry, which again, as everyone knows, is a highly male-dominated industry. And I often get asked this question by a lot of people I meet socially, professionally, as to how do you manage as a woman CEO, where probably you have 6 manufacturing units, where 70 to 80% of the manpower happen to be men. Do they respect you? Do they resent you? Do they just kind of, say yes, ma'am, because you happen to be the CEO, etc., and things like that. But then, I have a slightly different view about gender diversity, about women's empowerment, about creating gender diversity or creating women empowerment for the sake of women empowerment. I feel that truly, of course, I know there are certain geographies globally and certain geographies in the country where it's really difficult. And I'm here I'm not even covering different sectors. I'm just saying geographically in rural areas of India, or probably maybe let's say certain countries in the world today, and obviously you know which countries I'm referring to, where women don't have equal rights as much as men do. But otherwise, I think in countries like India, etc., especially if you are in a region where you have the leeway and the bandwidth to kind of go out there and do whatever you feel like doing. I always say this, that if you really want to succeed in life, if you really want to come up in life, if you want to break the barrier, you have to be on par with any other professional out there. The gender doesn't matter. The gender absolutely doesn't matter. Because today, when I look at my people who report into me, I don't think they look at me as a woman CEO, because I don't deal with them as a woman CEO. I deal with them as a professional. I deal with them as a CEO for whom the welfare matters. So whether it's a woman or whether it's a guy or whatever, I respect meritocracy. I respect competency. I respect skill sets, etc. But yes, all that said, I always say this to women. It's very important that however senior, middle management, junior kind of role you're handling, it's very important that you take stock of both your professional and personal life. Please take stock of it. Please understand. See, professional life's not everything. Professional achievement's not everything. At the fag end of the day, you really need to be happy at a personal level as well, because you need to have that right kind of balance. So take stock of your life. Please understand the constraints you have, because whatever said and done, we women do have another job at home as well, as a mother, as a daughter, as a caretaker, like some women said, as a wife, as a daughter-in-law, etc. Please be honest with yourselves. Please take stock of your situation. Please understand what are the challenges your ecosystem allows you to take, and then take it up and enjoy the best of both worlds. So that's how you strike a perfect balance. And that's how I think in your own way, you kind of, grow in life where you don't kind of tilt your eco balance. So that's my few words of what you call as.
Thank you so much, Nirja. Sorry, I would request the other panelists to please, because I think the time is very short. So I would request you guys to please keep it short. Thank you, Nirja.
Those are few words of what you call as.
This is Rajni Bector. Please, I think she's here now. She's joined us. Thank you, Nirja.
First of all,
yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Ashram for calling me on this panel. It's really great, and I'm really very happy to be there. And I'm thinking I'm the most eldest over here, and I started my work in '78 when I was only very young, and I was married in a very orthodox type of a family. My husband was very nice, and I started as a passion of food. That was my part. So I started my work like that, and it was really a good thing, which I did it for the small country in India, Ludhiana, which is a very small time, very prejudiced people around talking about me, but I never felt anything bad about the criticism or anything. I was very happy, and I did follow everything what I wanted to do it with my passion to create things. And that was the thing which created me, the Mrs. Bector, to be there with food in every sphere of life. And that is the main thing I feel for every lady. I feel this is a must. You must be creative in your ideas, whatever sphere you are. You are there to handle everything. You can handle each and everything. Every woman is in a very big entrepreneur when she can manage her house, manage her everything in the life. So then also you can do everything, whatever business, whatever sphere of life you want to go, you can go ahead with everything. It was my own innovations which created Kanika into a big company from just a small scale thing from home, from my kitchen, which I started it. And that made me Mrs. Bector today. And I just, being to be short, because that's the way you said it should be short. I just want to convey my lesson to everybody. Be creative, you should be very creative, and you must impose your ideas and the things you want to do, and be positive in thinking, and go ahead with your ideas and everything. And if you work with a passion, then you are going to be really successful in life. Be creative, be nice to the society, and keep on learning. Every day is a learning day in life. And the moment you are going to do like that, you are going to create every day in a new way, and a new life will come into your sphere. and be and work like a worship to God. That is my main motto. And I have developed all the food. I started with the ice creams. I started making breads. Started making biscuits at home. I started making cakes and puddings. And those days, nobody knew what puddings are and everything, which I was the creator of all that in that period in India. And that was the main thing which really made me so big today. I never thought of it. It's a passion. It was passion. That's why I thought it's my hobby. That's why I'm doing it. I never thought I'm doing a business. But the way it kept on going, today I'm all around India and doing all the big things. And I'm working for the government also, for the railways, and supplying to 64 countries in all over the world. And so that is the main thing behind it, which created me like to go ahead with my ideas, with looking after I'm very concerned about my employees. I'm very concerned about their families, and for the ladies, I always give lecture to the ladies, don't go, just get married and be there. Be very nice to your family. Be very nice to your family. Look after your children to make them a very good citizen. Give them all the ideas. Give them really look after them, and then start working in the free time. Don't neglect them at all, because all the professionals, they have to work like very hard. But still, we can take out time for our children, for our families. They are also for us, and they are looking after us. And so go ahead with everything in life and work like a worship, and go ahead and never keep on going for the perfection. And I wish all the ladies, all the entrepreneurs to go ahead. Never think that you can't do this thing. Everybody in the world can do everything. All the ladies, they are better than menfolk. They are better workers than menfolk. They can think better in life than anybody else. So wish you all the best for the Women's Day. Thank you very much. I wanted to be very short because of you said we should be short.
I would love to listen to all of you all day and learn, but thank you so much, Mrs. Hector. Food for thought. And we quickly go on to Mrs. Upasana Arora.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sanjana, I will really make it very short.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Life is not bed of roses for me. My childhood was very difficult because I lost my father, and he was the only earning member in my family, and there was no other male member. So it was very difficult for my mother to raise me and my sister. But anyhow, she teach me always. She taught me one thing, that never lose your hope and believe in yourself. That was the mantra I am taking with me. And after marriage, when I started my career and I joined my family business, it was really tough for me, because when a male person joined a family business, everybody welcomes him. But when a female joins a family business, everybody thinks what she is doing here, just passing her time. So I wanted to prove this, that I am here not for passing my time, because I have a passion of work. So anyhow, today I am speaking here in ASSOCHAM. This shows my journey. So thank you so much. And one thing I would like to say, कोमल है कमजोर नहीं तू, शक्ति का नाम ही नारी है, जग को जीवन देने वाली, मौत भी तुझसे हारी है. So I love my female friends, and thank you so much for giving me opportunity. Yeah, thanks.
Wow, gorgeous Upasana, a true rose amongst all the thorns from childhood, and you are the best at everything you do, and you will always be. Thank you so much, and you proved yourself every step of the way. But as we know, we're short on time, so next, Padma Shri Professor Rohini M. Godbole.
Okay, good afternoon. I think it's afternoon now. I will be extremely short, but I also notice that I am a man out here because I am not working in corporate world, not working in corporate world. I belong to the community of people who sit in their quote-unquote ivory towers and study science. And I would like to, I again, just very briefly, like other friends said, I was brought up in a middle-class family, and I have come a long, long way from a girl in 2 plates who studied in a Marathi today, who is doing science at an international level and has been doing science for 50 years. A lot has helped me in this journey, a lot has hindered me, but I am not going to tell you the stories of that journey. There is no time. But what I want to tell you that there is an important way in which women in science differ from women in corporate world or even the women who work in IT. So it's not just being in STEM, it's about a career that is different, because in all the other careers, you get your degree and more get into business. You get into business of doing business. Whereas as a scientist, you have to do an apprenticeship. And this is, you have to set your own niche. And it is exactly the same time when your body clock is ticking. The body clock is ticking, the science clock is ticking. And therefore, for a woman in science, forget about leadership position. To have a career in science is quite different, quite difficult. Even if you have done a PhD and you're all very good and you're all very smart. So in sciences, we have to actually create structures, how to build them. And that's what I have learned in my own experience. And that's what I have tried to see, how we can develop the support structures for those who cannot develop them themselves. So one of the things when we talk about women in science is we have to understand this need, a special need for women in science careers, which goes beyond the obvious ones which are common to everybody, namely career and family balance. On career and family balance, I like to say only one statement. I think we have to realize that bearing a child only a woman can do. Rearing a child, she can get lots of help. In fact, my contributors of my Leelapati's daughters have said very strong, don't try to be a superwoman. Try to take help, build your support structures, and last but not the least, the third thing that is required to have more women in science and more women in leadership positions is to create an awareness in the scientists, in the community, and in individuals that women in science is important for women, but women are also equally important for science. We don't want more number of women in STEM because they have been denied it and because we have to correct strong, but we have to do it for the good of a better ecosystem. And even diversity can only increase the multidimensionality of the scientific investigations that you can do. And also we have to teach people this, society this. And last but not the least, I would actually like to give one sentence to my young girls, young friends who want to have a life in science, that choose your own path and march to your own tune. You are the best judge of your own abilities. Do not let others convince you what you can or cannot, what you may or may not do. Once you do that, no obstacle is too hard and no journey is too difficult. Our dreams can only be limited by our imagination. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You're not the odd woman, but the special woman out there. And thank you so much for making everybody aware and, to create that awareness that women are definitely needed for science. So thank you. And we quickly move on to Miss Pratishta, the Weshwar.
Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you, and well, good morning to me because it is early morning here in Oxford where I'm studying public policy as a master's student. And I woke up at 4:30 to attend this event, and it is such a great, incredible start to my day, to my week, to be hearing such inspirational stories of all these amazing panelists here. And it is such an honor, I'm so humbled to be a part of this panel. And, in my life, if I can emulate even 10% of what all of you have achieved in your lives, I would consider myself to be successful. I think I'm the youngest on this panel today. I would start by saying thank you to all you amazing women and really clapping for all of you for being so amazing in doing what you are doing and for leading the path for young girls in India. The theme for International Women's Day this year is choose to challenge. And challenge is a very interesting word. In my life has been hitting me with challenges ever since I was very young. And I think my journey has been all about constantly choosing to challenge these challenges. And in the next 7 minutes, I'm going to list out these challenges for you, not to scare you, but to reiterate the fact that is as certain as night and day, that there will be challenges in our lives, especially as women. There will be adversities, there will be difficulties, but by sharing my own experiences, I want all of you to go back with this hope and with this belief that we all can overcome these challenges. And we women, we are not the victims of our lives, we are the heroines, aren't we? So on 29th October 2011, roughly 9 years ago, when I was 13 years old, I met with
Pratishta, I'm sorry, we have very short time, so we really need to move on because the session is going to end soon. So I'm so sorry, but we have to keep it short. I need a quick line of inspiration and motivation from you, so I can get to the next panelist. Thank you so much.
I can do that. So what I was going to say is that at a very young age, at the age of 13, I met with a road accident that left my half body paralyzed, and because of that, I have been facing various challenges. My medical reports said that I have lost my urine and bowel control. I have lost my ability to feel or move anything below my chest. I have lost my ability to walk. But that one thing that my reports did not mention and my doctors didn't warn me about was that I had also lost my rights to be perceived as a normal human being. As a woman with a disability to live in a developing country like India, you can imagine there have been infrastructural challenges, societal barriers, and all of that. And, because there were no accessible colleges in my city, I decided to move I come from Punjab, and I decided to leave my hometown and shift to New Delhi to pursue my bachelor's from Lady Shri Ram College. And everyone came to me saying, Pratishta, तुम अपना घर छोड़कर मत जाओ क्योंकि तुम एक विकलांग लड़की हो और तुम अकेले कभी मैनेज नहीं कर पाओगी. मेरे पेरेंट्स को बोला गया दैट आप अपनी जिंदगी की सबसे बड़ी गलती कर रहे हैं अपनी बेटी को अपने घर से बाहर भेजकर. But those people didn't know that these small eyes see big dreams. And those people saw me going from Hoshiarpur, my town in Punjab, to New Delhi. And not just that, but ghar se aur bhi dur to the United Kingdom, where I'm studying at the University of Oxford currently as a first ever wheelchair using woman from India. So I think, making it short, I think one thing that really, really helped me overcome all the challenges that you can now imagine that I didn't get the time to discuss, but it was self-belief. It was my really जो हौसला, विश्वास खुद पर कि मैं ये कर सकती हूँ. अगर मैं नहीं चल सकती और व्हीलचेयर पर ही रहना पड़ेगा सारी उम्र, मैं ये कर सकती हूँ. अगर अपनी पढ़ाई पूरी करने के लिए घर से दूर रहना पड़ेगा तो मैं ये कर सकती हूँ. और अगर लोगों की बातें, लोगों की ताने सुनकर भी मुझे मुस्कुराते रहना पड़ेगा, मैं ये कर सकती हूँ. और अगर इस सफर में मैं अपनी व्हीलचेयर से कभी गिर जाऊं तो मैं खुद उठकर वापस अपनी जिंदगी के सफर पर चल सकती हूँ. ये विश्वास, ये भरोसा, यही है जो मुझे यहाँ तक लाया है. And this is my humble advice to all the young women out there, and not just young women, men, everybody out there, that really, really believe in yourself. And it is my deepest belief with all my heart that if you put your mind to it, we all can do anything that we set our heart to. Thank you so much. A very, very happy
Thank you so much, Pratishta. Totally inspirational. We are so inspired by you. Thank you. Miss Benu Segal, please. And please keep it short, guys. We're running short on time. It's not me, but it's ASSOCHAM.
Don't worry, I'll keep it very short. Hello, young ladies, beautiful women.
Sanjana is the middle of the night. It's too difficult for you. I can understand.
I can understand, and I won't be repetitive. Instead, everything has been told and everything has been done here. And inspiration, no inspiration. I don't believe in gender discrimination. I don't believe there is nothing to do with the gender. It is only your capabilities and your will to do it, your strategies to follow. So here briefly, I will discuss what we should not do. We are programmable machines. Human beings are programmable machines. We are what we are because there was something programmed, and that is how we behave. So it was programmed to treat a woman this way. It is programmed. So as women, what we should not do, we should raise our boys like girls. We should stop telling girls, "Tu to mera beta hai." That is the biggest insult you're doing. Don't do that. We should not believe in Kanyadan. I think I might raise many questions here. हम कोई वस्तु नहीं है दान करने के लिए. Give your daughters the blessings that you should have a good married life. That is why gender neutrality should happen. Talent, encourage talent. Whenever you are selecting, being mentor to a woman, sorry, be mentor to a capable man also. So encourage talent, encourage flexibility, encourage gender neutrality, encourage people who are competent should be given what they want. I am a biochemist by degree, but I am ruling the man's world, which is real estate. So there is no barrier for anyone. All the biggest chefs are men. All the biggest tailors are men. So there is no thing that a gender defines. So please don't put in yourself in such brackets. Move on, give talent a chance, give competency a fair chance, and give world a better place to live in. And forget all these men, women, this, that barrier. There are other genders also who are doing well elsewhere in the world. So gender has got nothing to do. Celebrate women, men, humanity every day. That's my short thing, and this is what life has taught me. I've got 2 daughters. I've raised them like daughters, like my children, not like men or boys. My father and my mother raised my brother like a good child. He can also do all the kadhai, bunai, silai, and everything what I can do, and I can do what my brother can do. So if we can do something like that, it will be a great system to be in, a great society to live in. That's it.
Wow, that's real. I loved what you said, and it's so true. Most important to be a good human being, and not a boy or a girl. It's the same, but be a good human being. Thank you so much, Miss Tanu Jain.
Hello?
Yes, Ms. Tanuja.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Very good afternoon, the eminent panelists here. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead, Tanu.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to all the eminent panelists here. And before starting on sharing any very small and short experiences, I would deeply acknowledge and appreciate our moderator for today, Dr. Sanjana Joan, and kudos to your patience and the way you coordinated the whole show today. And today on International Women's Day, I want to wish each and every woman a very good year ahead, and with all their aspirations and encouragement and inspiration that they have taken from such eminent panelists who've spoken here. And I would just like to speak 2-3 things because we are running short of time and patience also. So like the theme for this year has been International Women's Day, choose to challenge. So I think all my life I had been, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I thought it's not audible, yeah. So all my life I just challenging my own self. First is the fire in me. And second thing is my power of manifestation that I have actually visualized for myself and actually done that. So in my 6th standard, people used to say I can't study much. So then I raised my standards to a level till today I am studying. So I went on to do civil services. I cracked the exam, and then I did my master's in psychology, master's in sociology, and my PhD in women empowerment is completing this year. So I authored 5 books as well. In the meantime, so I think it is not about challenging anyone. It is challenging your own self. I believe the competition is just with your own self. There is no competition outside you. So you just take the leap, take the fire from anywhere and everywhere. It's full of inspiration, and then you go ahead with that. So first thing is that. Second thing is you have to be passionate about things, and if you're passionate about things, then nothing is work on earth, and you are actually doing your own job. Like I think Dr. Sanjana has that in you have that thing is at your work, and you are bubbly all through the session, and you've been moderating it so well. Thank you so much for having me here, and I won't take much time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanu. That you really woke me up and got some zest and vigor back to the whole group. Thank you for that. And we're quickly going to move on to the supermen amongst all these super women out here. Mr. Himanshu Rathod.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Himanshu.
Yes. Considering the shortage of time, I will skip almost all formalities. I'll just say one thing, that what Professor Rohini Godbole said, that she is the odd man out, but here I am the odd man out among all galaxy and stars of these women who are much ahead in leading their fields. Here I am representing almost 36 lakh farmer of Gujarat, and also almost you can say that 45 crore women who lives in the rural India. I'm heading a department here who is basically guiding, training, helping women as well as the milk producers to move ahead in the life. I'll just start with a small story, just to give the small glimpse about what Amul does. So it's a story of Jamuna Ben. Her husband was a bricklayer worker and earning around say 3,000 rupees per month in a village. And she had two daughters, one 3 years old, one 5 years old. In an accident, her husband lost his eyesight and he became blind. Now what to do? So Jamuna Ben started as a bricklayer worker, and she also started earning say around 2,500 rupees per month. But meanwhile, in a village, there was a training program, and the training program was attended by her. She understood that there are some basics she can do some earning. So she bought a calf, and at 500 rupees, she reared it, and slowly she started pouring milk into the village dairy cooperative society. So she realized that by pouring milk into the village society, she is earning much more than what she is earning as a laborer. So she started keeping more and more animals by rearing the cows which she had. And slowly she also started, she thought that okay, now she can stay at the home, she can give time to her daughters, and this is much better business for a little bit more earning also. But meanwhile, another catastrophe struck. The society where she was pouring milk, that society got closed, and those men who were handling the society, they had dispute among themselves and they were not ready to start the society. So what to do? So she gathered all the women and other milk producers of the village and said that all of we as the women are losing the money, as well as entire the village is also losing the money because the dairy society is not starting. So people slowly started listening to him, but no one started society. So she started Women Village Dairy Cooperative Society in her village and got affiliated to Amul. Now, slowly she increased the women, she became the management committee member of that society, and now she is the chairman of that Village Dairy Cooperative Society. She fought an election and she won against the male counterpart, and she is board of director of the milk unit. So this is how her journey began. And now one of her daughter is teacher and one of her daughter is homeopathic doctor. So this is how she could give more time to her family. And let me tell you, I have thousands of such stories. Those stories who are women who are widow, who are laborer, even women who are wealthy. I was women who were pouring 1 crore rupees milk into the Village Dairy Cooperative Society and earning around 30 to 35 lakh rupees per annum. And they are not studied even up to say 5th standard, 6th standard. So these are the stories. And these stories, how they have come across, slowly they have grown up. If you come to Amul, I think you can see thousands and thousands of such stories. So let me tell you one thing, what strength of women Amul leaders has identified in long or back, and they started various development and training program for women. One of our participants had said that 3 things which are very important for women to progress is, there are 3 gaps. One is in education, one is in training, one is in the dependable employment opportunity or earning. Amul has provided all 3. Amul is providing education programs, specific women education program, women awareness program, women leadership development program, Mila Pashupalan Talim Karyakram, and so on, so many programs. Specific training as well as assured income for whatever the milk they produce, whether they produce 10 liter of milk or whether they produce 1,000 liter of milk, entire quantity of milk is being sold at the same rate for that women. There are no, it's not like agriculture commodity that if you produce say good number of quantity, huge quantity, then price suddenly drops. No, it's not there in the Amul. So what has happened with such effort of Amul and such efforts of leader? Women membership, which was in 1990, only 2.5 lakh women members were there. Now there are 12.5 lakh women with a growth rate of almost 7% every year. and there are 34% member are women in AMUL. It was told by one of the participants that there are a 10 to 19% membership or 10 to 19% employment of the women are in some corporates, but here it is more than 34% and increasing exponentially. There are 5,500 exclusive women village dairy cooperative societies where all are women.
Thank you
And more than
so
70
much.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but ASSOCHAM is running short on time, and I'm so, I'm forced
One
to
last
tell
line.
you.
One last line. Only I will say that involvement of women in the cooperative has led to the overall economic, social, and political empowerment, and that is at the rural level for all India. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks to Amul and thanks to Himanshuji bringing forth women empowerment. It's amazing. Thank you. And Miss Namita Chadha, we have, and we will go on to the felicitation after that.
Hi, are we ready?
Yes, we are. Go ahead.
Hey, Sanjana.
Great seeing you.
Good of you to be up and about at this late hour.
Well, I gotta get this.
I'll take 3 minutes. Okay, 2.5. We negotiate. I'm a lawyer.
Okay. Let's cut it to 1.5 because these guys will cut me if you don't. Go ahead, Namita.
As you say, ma'am. So, okay, neither yours nor me. 2 minutes. Thank you, everybody, and wishing you a very happy Women's Day. I'm a lawyer, and I run a very successful law firm of mine, which is Delhi-based. The diversity in our law firm is such that we have more women than men. Law's been my passion. Law's been my romance. I have had argumentative skills, negotiation skills, as I just displayed to you, since childhood, and I've ended up becoming a lawyer. And a woman my age is the youngest lawyer in the country who's running a law firm, who's providing services to more than 150 international clients. That's one. Two, just when I was about to succeed and reach the pinnacle, ladies, you phenomenal ladies, I was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. There have been oncologists, there have been doctors here. I was told I have 30 days to live, and I said, this is no Shah Rukh Khan movie, which is going to be enacting in my life. And they said, you actually have 30 days. That should wake you up, Sanjana. So imagine.
I'm awake. Seeing you, I'm wide awake now. And your negotiations, I gotta learn. So
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I was diagnosed of cancer of 3 parts of my body. And I was told, would you like to get chemos? And I said, what do you mean? He says, we'll try. I went in for it. 16 chemos, 8 surgeries, very painful radiation. But I don't want to call myself a survivor, guys. Ma'am Kochar, namaste to you. And I want to say to you, ma'am, and everybody else who's so esteemed here, I call myself a conqueror. I call myself a conqueror of cancer. The biggest barrier that I think I've overcome, and I'm ready to burst out with passion in saying this, is I'm as fit as an athlete. I am as not so positive about life because it does haunt me, the memories. But if I can fight, let me tell you, all women out there, if I can fight a 30-day life and death battle, I think anybody can do it. Honestly, anybody can do it. Again, 16 chemotherapies, 8 surgeries, radiation, loss of everything. My nails, my hair, my everything gone, my profession, which was dependent on me, the women. I have 40 lawyers. I have more than 150 countries' clients. The women are looking up to me. I can just say, come on, you can give birth. I've gone through pain. I've gone through the echelons of pain, but I've conquered it. I'm disease free. Yeah. So therefore, you know, running a successful, I'm the odd person out. I'm a lawyer. Come on, be aware of your rights as a lawyer, and you don't have to be strong. No, I disagree. You just have to be okay with being not strong. It's all right.
Namita, more than a lawyer, you're a motivational speaker. And I think you have motivated everybody out here. You know, you're amazing.
So much.
We love you.
Thank you, Sanjana. I too. I want to say one thing. The biggest barrier and the topic of discussion, my conclusion today as one sentence. The biggest barrier is that of life and death. I conquered it. Believe me, it doesn't take you that much. You can go through your cries and have it all. It's okay not to be okay. And I just want to say, if you have the passion in you, man, you have it all. Each one of you is demonstrating that. You know, the biggest barrier, Sanjana, ma'am, was in my life when they said I'm a lawyer and I'd go and introduce myself to the clients. I'm a professional. They'd say, you a professional? Would you even have brains? So in a woman's journey, I've seen the biggest barrier is her being a woman, feminism, and her attractive looks. Also, the judge is going to pass the order in your favor. So I've had to work double to demonstrate what a man would work on. Well, I've done it. And all of you can do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Namita. And that what a great way to end. Each panelist was amazing. I can't compare because each one was special. But we come to our felicitations. And thank you, Namita. You cheered everybody up. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Each superwoman and superman who's supporting the superwomen. We have the felicitation. First, we have Dr. Manjari Chandra. A big hand, everybody, for Dr. Manjari Chandra. Next, we have Miss Poonam Bhargav. Now, we have Dr. Kriti Soni. We have Miss Namita Chadha. Last but not the least, Miss Bhavna Bhatnakar. Again. Wow, what an amazing group of women. I have to tell you, we could have gone on all day with this. So now we have the vote of thanks by Mrs. Upasana Arora, Chairperson, Yashoda Super Specialty Hospital.
Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you so much. Respected special guest, Mrs. Lakshmi Puri ji, member of the council and other participants gathered to celebrate this very important day with us at ASSOCHAM. Let me begin by congratulating all of you on this very special occasion of International Women's Day. Your presence here today is an indication and certification of the accomplishment and achievement we have had so far. What an inspirational gathering. As the topic suggests, we are here to celebrate the journey of women like all of us here who have been successful in breaking the barriers, each one through their own personal struggles and reached their stage or stature in life. All of you are inspirations to lack of young women, the next generation out there who look at you with inspirations about their own future. Now, why do we need to celebrate this journey? There may exist hundreds of rhetoric to answer this question. But for me, the simple answer is why not? Because it is a given thing that all we need the interconnecting lineage of successful women in all walks of life, especially in a male-dominated bastion of science and technology, engineering, medicine, economy, finance, and politics, to inspire and motivate the next batch, the next generation of talented women, to make them believe in themselves by looking at the stories of luminaries like you. To give an example, don't we feel proud of the way our country's finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman ji, is steering the country's economy through a very difficult phase of COVID pandemic. In the process, definitely impacting a lot of young minds to follow suit and exemplifying not to be afraid of taking challenges head on, even though you are a woman caught in an extraordinarily difficult situation. From this ASSOCHAM forum, we would like to ascertain and recognize the potential of women leaders in unleashing country's growth and overall development. A woman's journey to empowerment begins from within, and the first step towards initiating changes is to begin with oneself. A healthy, confident, informed, and financially secure woman is better equipped to undertake this journey and can create a much more productive and social ecosystem for the family and society. Globally, the theme of this year's Women's Day is #Choose to Challenge, with the idea that a challenged word is an alert word, and individually we are all responsible for our own thoughts and action every day. This theme signifies that we can all choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality. We can all choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements. Collectively, we can all help create an inclusive world. From the challenges came change, so let's all choose to challenge. With those words, I would like to conclude my thoughts, though I can go on and on about this subject, which is close to my heart, but I would like to say thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you.
Ma'am, request you to please give certificate of appreciation to Dr. John. Also, there will be like kind of a thank you from all the winners. Just 10 seconds each. Thank you.
Okay. So, Sanjana, now I'm going to give you this certificate.
Thank you.
Sanjana
Thank you
John.
so much.
Wow. Sanjana,
Okay,
you are always an inspiration for me. And today you proved that you are the best. Yeah.
That is so sweet. I mean, I apologize to everybody for cutting you short. I could have sat and listened to all of you, but thank you so much for this great honor. Thank you, Upasana. It's lovely that it's you presenting it to me. And thank you, ASSOCHAM. And it was wonderful listening to all the amazing people here today. And I'm once again apologizing that I had to cut you guys short. But now thank yous from all of you. And then we watch a video.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Poonam, your vote of thank you thing, please, for the award.
Yes. Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for facilitating and felicitating me and Venant, the Learning Academy, especially today on International Women's Day. I wish all the women counterparts a lovely day, a day that celebrates us. So in the space of edupreneurship, which Venant has started, I just want to say that, you know, the education the world needs today should be one that can enable to create value and the spirit of learning from the collective wisdom of humankind. So just adding the last bit that a teacher teaches. An average teacher teaches, a good teacher explains, and an excellent teacher demonstrates. So we want to have that space in the academy. And many thanks again for this recognition. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Poonam. Dr. Manjari Chandra, vote of thanks from you. Manjari, not there. Dr. Kriti Soni.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Sanjana. You did a great job. And thank you so much, all the ladies out there. So it's been very encouraging and wonderful listening to all of you. And that really gives us inspiration as, you know, young female leaders, that we have a great journey ahead of us to travel. And with the felicitation and the acknowledgement that ASSOCHAM has given me today, it is really very encouraging. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Ms. Namita Chadha.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sanjana, especially you and Miss Kocher, who's been listening to every word with such deep interest and encouragement. And thank you, ladies and sir, who have been present so patiently. And that acts like a deep motivator to each one of us. It makes us feel we're celebrating it all together. We are in it together.
Yeah, Ms. Bhavna, please. Thank you.
Ms. Bhavna Bhatnagar. Miss Bhavna Bhatnagar, not there? Okay. Quick thanks to, of course, our, all the people here on the panel, especially Dr. Blossom Kocher, Miss Lakshmi Puri, Dr. Preeta Rajaraman, Miss Nilima Dwivedi, doctors, all the people, especially, ASSOCHAM for putting this together. Without ASSOCHAM, we wouldn't be here today. So thank you, ASSOCHAM, and thank you, Payal, for getting everyone roped in, and great women of power and empowerment here today. Now for the video.
Hands for Payal, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Namaste. A very good afternoon to all of you present here. I would want to thank Ms. Meenakshi Sharma ji for having me here at this prestigious stage. Today, as we come together to celebrate the achievements of women, we Agricultural Enhancement Project, we are ensuring that women get to participate actively in agriculture too. In the rural areas of Barmer in Rajasthan, we are bringing women into mainstream agriculture. In the rural areas, they are now regularly attending our
So thank you everyone for being with here for this occasion. We had a wonderful time with you all. So the event went well, and then thank you for joining us. Thank you.